Hello, today we're going to make a little beach ball, celebrate summer with our cat friends. The things you'll need to make this will be a 4mm G crochet hook, some scissors, yarn needles, some kind of stuffing, and then worsted weight yarn and maybe 4 colors, maybe less, maybe whatever colors you like. If you have at least 2, you could make a nice little beach ball pattern. But I went with the traditional colors for mine. You don't have to, whatever you like. As long as it's worsted weight and you've got that 4mm hook, it'll work out just fine. Well, let's get started. So we'll start with the white, making our magic circle. So we're crossing the working end over the short end, going in with our hook through the front to the back, wrap our yarn, we'll pull up, wrap, pull up again. There's our magic circle. So we're going to be alternating between white and our other beach ball colors. So for our very first one, we'll stick with the white. We're going to go in, wrap our yarn, we're going to pull it up. We're going to leave those 2 loops there and we're going to attach our next color. I think I'm going to go blue next. Doesn't really matter. I'm literally just going to double knot it to the end here, and I'm going to leave that hook in there so I can make the knot as tight as I can without losing either of those loops and without making it too loose when I go to use the blue. So just double knotting, and then when I pick this up again, I want to make sure that the 2 strings of the magic circle are still being worked over, so when we go to close it up, it will make that nice and tight. So those first 2 loops, we're going to finish that stitch with the blue because it's actually the beginning of the next stitch, and then we're going in again, making sure we're wrapping over those 2, wrap our yarn, pull it up. Now those 2 loops, we're going to switch back to the white. Once we get past this part, everything will be way easier on our hands. So we pull that up and just keeping the blue out of the way, we're going to go in, wrap, pull up. Now we get to attach our next color. I think I'll go red next. So just like I did with the blue, I'm just going to double knot it onto the white. And I promise after the magic circle is done, the color changes are way less fiddly. So we're just tying this to the white, just like we did before. We're leaving that hook in there so we can get it as snug as we want. And there's that second knot. Go, picking it up. It looks a little bit of a mess right now, but it will get easier here. So we're wrapping that red to finish that stitch. We're going to go in, we're going to pull up, and then we're going to finish that one with the white yarn. And then we've got that white stitch. Now we're keeping the red and the blue out of our way back there. Going through, making sure you're getting both of the white pieces. Pull it up. And now we're going to attach the yellow. And then after that, everything will be much simpler. And just like we did with the other 2, taking that yellow, and we're going to double knot it to the white, leaving that hook in there. Nice and snug. And we'll finish that with the yellow. So we wrap, pull through, and then going in one last time, making sure we have the 2 ends, so it's the short end and the part in the circle of the white. Wrap in the yellow, pull it up, and we're going to finish with a working end of the white. Okay, so we should have 6 stitches in here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go, now you can see them. And we're gonna take our yarns, pulling them out of the way, finding the short tail of the white and pulling that all together. Ended up with at least one on the wrong side here. Hang on. Yoink. There we go. Now they're all where we want them. So your right side of your yarn should have no string sticking out. That back side of the yarn is going to look like a crazy octopus. So with that white yarn, since that's the color we started with, we will slip stitch to join this little circle here. Just going through and then pulling through that last loop there, and we'll chain 1. So wrap in the yarn, pull 1 up, and now we are ready for round 2. Alright, so for round 2 we're going to do some increases. Starting with that white yarn, working into the white section, we're going to make 2 single crochets into that 1 stitch. And just like we did when we were color changing before, we're going to go in on that second one and wrap, pull up. And we're going to leave those 2 and switch to our blue yarn, digging our way through all those tails to find the working end of the blue. And then we'll wrap that, pull it up, and those next 2 stitches are going to get worked into that blue space. And again, for the second one, I'm going to go in, wrap, pull up, and we're going to leave those 2 there. Switching back to the white yarn, wrap to finish that stitch, and then 2 white in the next section, going in, 1 more. And then we'll leave those 2 loops and switch to the red. And working 2 red stitches into that 1 stitch. And I'll leave those 2 loops up, switch into the white again. And we're going in. 1, and leaving those 2 loops, switch into the yellow, and 2 in that yellow space. And we'll finish with the white yarn. And we'll slip stitch to join that round. And that is round 2. We are getting there. Next one will also be an increase round. So we'll go ahead and chain 1 with the white. And then we'll start on that increase round. Okay, so we chained 1 there. We're going to go 1 single crochet into that very first stitch. And then in the next one, we're going to work 2. So that second white stitch gets 2. And then we're leaving those 2 loops there, finding the long end of our blue yarn. Switch in, wrap the yarn, pull through, and then the same pattern again. So we're going 1 single crochet in the first blue stitch and 2 into the next. pulling up, leaving those 2 loops there, and we'll switch back to the white. 1, 1, and then we increase. And switch into the red to finish that stitch. And just like before, we go 1 and 2. Switch into the white. 1 and 2. And switch to the yellow. Almost done with this round. 1 single crochet in that first one, and 2 in that last one. Pulling up, leaving those 2. We're going to switch to the white one more time for this round. And we're going to slip stitch to join into that very first stitch of the round. And we're done with that one there. We are at a point where you could do one more increase round if you want it to be a nice big beach ball for your cat, or if you want it to be a smaller ball, that could be the end of your decreases there. I'm going to call this the end, make mine a little one. My cat that likes toys like this is a little tiny little guy. So he's just going to get a small beach ball. But if you wanted to do one more increase, you would do a single, and 2 for each little color section, switching the same way we have been. But if you're ready to keep going, we'll start on our plain single crochet in each stitch around rounds. Okay, working on our plain rows. If you did do one more increase round, you will have 4 plain rows. If you're sticking with me and you're ready for plain rows here, you will only have 3. We're going to chain 1, and each stitch gets 1 single crochet. So we're going to go 1, 2, and just like we were doing before when we were increasing, every time we get to the end, we're going to stop with those 2 loops to switch to the next color, and then we'll keep going. So we're doing the same thing we've done with the color changes. Just at the end of each little section, we leave those 2 loops there and switch to whatever color comes next. So there's nothing fancy about it other than the color changing. We're just going a single crochet all the way around, and we're going to do this 3 times total. So you keep going, keep up those color changes, and I will meet you back here when we have 3 more rows. So you should have 6 rows total, unless you did that extra increase, in which case you'll be at 8 rows total when we're ready to meet up. Okay, we finished all those plain rows. If you did the 8 rows instead of the 6, you're going to go ahead and do 1 extra decrease round as well. So you'll do 2 plain single crochets and then a single crochet decrease. If you're with me, you're going to do 1 plain single crochet and then we'll decrease. So we're going to chain 1 to start. We'll do 1, and just like all the other times around, we're working the colors of the section we're working. So we're going through the front loop of those last 2 stitches so we can work them together. So we're getting just the front loop only there, and we'll wrap that yarn, we'll pull up, and then once we have just those 2, just like all the other rounds, we're going to then change to our next section's color. So we got a single crochet in the first one and a decrease in the next. So the first, the front loop of those 2 stitches, wrap, pull up. Now we're down to just 2 loops there. We're going back for our white yarn, wrap, pull on up, 1 plain single crochet. We're keeping our stitches as tight as we can so everything stays together. Just the front loops, wrap, pull up, and then when you have those two, switch into the next color, and we'll continue on all the way until the end of the round. Then when you get to the end, we'll slip stitch to join, we'll chain one, and then we've got one more round to go. All right, before we finish this last one up, I'm gonna leave that last slip stitch undone and just kind of move my long tails out of the way. And all my short tails are already tucked in, but if yours aren't, go ahead and just tuck them in there. This is what the inside there looks like. And now is the perfect time to add any catnip and stuffing in there that you'd like. So go ahead and do that. All right, we got all our stuffing in there. You can see it's nice and round now. So we're going to start our last decrease round. This is going to be not quite as tricky as the very first round, but we will have a little bit of tying and tucking in to do along the way. So now that we have all the stuffing in there, we can finish that slip stitch. We're going to chain one, and we've got a decrease, just one decrease for each little color section. So we're just trying to dig our way through the front leg of those two stitches. You can see we just have that front part of that little V if you were looking from the top. And we'll wrap, pull up, and then we're going to switch to that next color. So we're going to keep the white just how it is. We're wrapping, we'll pull up, and then we'll do the decrease with the blue. Wrap, pull up, and now we're going to finish that one with the white color, but before we do that, we're going to cut off the blue, and we'll just tie it once on this end. So we're just going to tie that blue yarn to the white, and then we're going to tuck that end into the ball. So just, if you need to make it shorter, you can. I'm going to keep it long enough so that it stays tucked in. So we don't have to weave anything in later. We're just floating around on the inside. No one will ever know. So going back to the white to finish off that stitch there, wrap, pull up, and then same thing with the next white section. We've got those two stitches, and we're going to decrease it back down to one, and we'll leave those two. We're switching to the red, and then we're going to decrease here, and just like we did with the blue, when we finish this decrease, we're going to cut off that red, tie it to the white, and tuck it into the ball. Grabbing just those front little loopies there, and then we'll leave those two loops on there before we switch to the white. Go ahead and give that a little snip, move that out of the way, and we're going to tie the red yarn to the white. Just a little simple knot to keep it connected, keep it out of the way, keep your kitties from being able to unearth them from your toy if they were trying to. So just out of the way in there. Now we go to the white to finish that stitch there, and we've got another decrease, and we're going to switch to the yellow, and we'll decrease this one. I'm going to leave the white yarn. It's going to be the one we use to weave. So we'll pull that up. And then we're going to leave that white yarn there. We're going to snip off the yellow. And just like we did for all the other colors, tying the yellow to the white. And just one simple little knot. Keeping that knot on the facing toward the inside. Tuck that in there. Closer you get to the end there, the less space you have to tuck things in. So if you need to shorten tails to make room for them to go in, go for it. You want to be able to weave the top closed without catching anything if you can. So now we can finish that off. We're wrapping that white yarn, And we are back at the beginning. So we're going into that top stitch there, that very first one. Slip stitch to join the beginning and the ends of those rounds. So once we finish that slip stitch to join there, we've got just a little bit of open space at the very tippy top. We're going to cut off like a medium length tail there. We want enough to be able to weave in the top, but we don't need so much. We'll wrap the yarn around to pull through that last loop just one time. That's going to give us a nice little knot there, and then we're going to take our yarn needle. We're going to thread our tail onto our yarn needle, and we'll use that to weave the top. Okay, we got our yarn needle on there. We're going to go through the first stitch, out the next stitch, pulling that, same thing, going into the red, going out through the white, and then going into the yellow, and we're going to pull that tail. You can see that hole just closes right up. I'm going to make it as snug as we can, and then catching that little loop of white, we'll tie a little knot, and just like before, we'll make that knot as tight as we can. And then I usually just sort of angle where I'm going to insert my yarn needle to send that tail through, just to wherever that top knot there lays the flattest. So I'm going to go into the toy, and I'm pushing that yarn needle as far as I can get it, like a reasonable length, so that tail stays on the inside of the toy. When you don't have to weave anything in, you can just snip that end off, and there you have it. Got a cute little beach ball for cat friends. Let me know if your cats like it. If you made one too and you want to show me, or you want to show me your cat, I am on Instagram also as Denise Fox Crafts, and I would love to see your kitty cats playing with some toys. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Bye.